the quick video overview of my hybrid off-grid system. You can see the solar 1800 watts comes in off of a 10 gauge MC4 connection. I have 3 series and 4 series 3P parallel. So I got 4 panels in a series, 3 sets is how it's set up. So it gives me around, I think it's between 60 and 70 or 80 volts, something like that. I've seen up to 80 volts. I don't know why, but usually it runs around 60. So it comes off here, hits this 100 amp fuse breaker, which is a X Scorpion. Works well. I like it because it's easier to disconnect. Hits my Outback. That's a FlexMax 80 amp. And then it comes down from there to the charger, hits another fuse. And of course my shelf broke the other day, so I had to take it back. And my temporary shelf is right here. So you can see that is 900 cells of lithium in a 7S, which gives me a maximum of 29.4 volts. I chose the AIMS inverter. What it does is an inverter charger. So when the batteries get down to 23.9, the actual inverter starts charging the batteries. And you can see that I have a 30 amp out and the charging out. So that actually comes over here to the wall. So this one over here is the charging plug-in. This outlet is still on the grid. So when the batteries get low, I think it's like about 20% roughly, it actually starts charging the batteries. This is a NEMA 14 generator plug that I built. So it's an outlet that I built. And this is the Romex I use. So that Romex actually is up there, so it goes up the wall. And then you can see that it goes over here. So basically it goes clear across my basement rafters. And then I'll stop the video here and go over to the breaker box. So there's the Romex. This is my kind of a storage room. This room didn't get finished in the basement because it's just like junk. It's my storage junk. But this is clear on the other side of the basement, so that's why I didn't run the solar directly into here, because that would be a long ways for DC voltage. Remember, DC voltage, you'll get a lot more loss in the cable, so you don't want to run it any further than you have to. So you need to get it to AC quickly. So that's why the AC runs clear over here, and you can see it runs into this cable. Now there is an outlet that you can put on there. It looks like this, but I didn't bother with it. I mean, that just fits in that little slot. But I just drilled a hole in there and I just direct connected it to the cables instead of putting that on. So here are 10 circuits, 4 20 amp and 6 15 amp. Now you can swap those out with the regular breakers, what it said. I didn't have to. The only one that I used a 15 amp for a 20 amp is my washer. Let me rephrase that. I used a 15 amp, which is less than 20 amp, for the washer. That means if it needs more than 15 amps, it will break. And my washer does not use 15 amps. So actually I'm more than protecting it. You would not use a 30 amp on a 20 amp circuit. So let me rephrase that. There's a 15 amp on my washer, which it actually takes a 20 amp. So it's actually overprotected. But that's okay. I'd never pop it. So then that's what the transfer list looks like. They're all labeled. And there's resets on the side there. And this is the breaker box. I don't actually have it open right now, but basically all those cables are already pre-wired through this hole into a knockout. So I just knocked out the bottom there, and then I took out each line and connected it just like the instructions. You can find tons of YouTubes on it. It's really easy. But when it's on this side, I don't have to have an electrician do it. Now, should you? If you don't know what you're doing or you don't feel comfortable, then you probably should have someone at least look at it before you turn those back on. One thing to keep in mind before you start it, make sure you know that the whole house needs to be dead. Shut the whole main breaker off. Do not do this with that main breaker on, or you will electrocute yourself. So make sure you shut that off. Once everything down, because what that does, that shuts all these off. So this is all not live. So while you're doing it, you don't have to worry about touching stuff. It just makes it easier. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but it just makes it a whole heck of a lot safer and easier. Okay, that's all I got. Any questions? Last minute. So as I mentioned, my shelf broke. I bought it at Lowe's. It was plastic, and the shelf actually broke. So all these lithiums actually fell off the shelf, which was not cool at all. So I stole this little coffee table temporarily until I can find a new, more solid shelf to put these on. As you can see, I come off the inverter and actually come over to this outlet. I wanted an outlet that is powered by the solar, just in case I want to power something off solar here directly. Because the outlets in here, like the whole basement, I didn't power off solar because we don't really come down here too much. It's finished basement, but we just don't use it as much as I thought I would. But so that's actually on a grid there, that outlet, and this outlet over here is on the grid. So that's why this outlet is connected directly to the solar, just in case. Like my printer over there, that's actually the shelf that this is on. I actually was powering that printer off the solar, and if it's asleep, it minimal draw. But as you can tell, I have the Victron here, which is actually working well for monitoring it here. But I bought the Bluetooth dongle, and I tell you what, I'm glad I got that for $50. It's so much easier just to open the app up and look at it from upstairs instead of having to come down here all the time. So anyway, that's it.